Hello, my friend. I have a special invitation for you. I have a new, potent, concentrated group coaching program called Crucible. We begin on April 10th. You can go check out timewitchery.com/crucible, and I'm going to tell you all about it at the end of the show. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Welcome to Mind Witchery. I'm your host, Natalie Miller, and I'm so glad you're here. Hello, my love. The moon is getting full. Have you noticed? This episode always comes out on a Thursday, and the full moon in Libra is happening officially on Saturday morning, Pacific time, just after noon, 2:55 Eastern time, and in the wee hours of the morning on Sunday in Australia. But I know that if you look up into the sky right now, the moon looks very full. And I find as this happens, there's always an awe sparked in me. I just get this feeling of, oh my gosh, I forgot for a moment that we are on a planet in a solar system. For me, there's something about the full moon that just reminds me where I am in the bigger sense. And these episodes, these full moon episodes, are also intended to ask us to take several steps back from all the doing, all the momentum of everyday life, and to step toward reflection, a bigger view, a broader perspective. So that is what every full moon is about, and definitely that is what this full moon is about. This full moon is in Libra, which means that the sun is in Aries. It is, after all, still Aries season. The sun is in Aries, and the moon is in Libra, straight across the zodiac from it. Every time we have a full moon, we are balancing polarities, because zodiac signs that are opposing one another deal with opposing concerns. So again, the sun is in Aries, and Aries is about centralized, individualized power. Aries is a matchstick. It has all of this initiatory power, all of this fire. It's very concentrated, it's very centralized, and the sun is really happy in Aries because the sun is also centralized power in our solar system. Across the zodiac, where the moon is the sign of Libra. And if Aries is the sign of me, Libra is the sign of we. So Libra is about balance. Libra is about harmony. Libra is about co-creativity, about bringing various pieces together into a pleasing arrangement. Right? Libra is symbolized by a set of scales, like the scales of justice. And Aries, of course, is symbolized by a ram. So it is really interesting and illuminating to have a full moon in Libra, because while the sun is in its centralized place, the moon is also in a beautiful place. The moon is in a place of reflection. the moon is in a place where it is reminding us what it reminds us best, that everything is co-created. And doesn't the moon do a beautiful job of that? The moon pulls on the tides of our oceans. The moon changes oh so slightly every evening, and it does so relatively quickly, right? Over about a month's time, it's reminding us, oh, we're on one planet and we are revolving around a sun, and our moon revolves around us. It's just reminding us, oh, everything is existing in relationship. And so really that's what this full moon is asking us to reckon with and notice and rebalance. Being an individual in relationship. As Aries says, there is only one of you in all of time. That's my favorite Martha Graham quote, or it's part of my favorite Martha Graham quote. Aries says there is only one of you in all of time. It's that birth energy, that deeply individual bursting forth energy. And Libra says, yes, and there is only co-creation. So it's true. There may be only one of you in all of time, but without the rest of this, you don't exist. So I've mentioned before on the podcast my favorite metaphor that we collectively are a puzzle, like a jigsaw puzzle, and each of us individually is a piece. And so there's no other piece that is exactly like you. And at the same time, you fit into a larger whole. How do we figure out where a puzzle piece goes when we're assembling a puzzle? Well, we look for the other puzzle pieces with which it coordinates, right? That's how we figure out where it goes, not just by looking at the piece itself, but also by looking at the other pieces. I love that metaphor. I just think it's so helpful because it helps us to conceptualize this paradox. We are all individuals, utterly unique. No one has the talents, the skills, the experiences, the perspectives that you have. No one does. They can't. And at the same time, you fit into a larger collective. And this larger collective isn't complete without you sharing your talents and perspectives and experiences and lessons. Right? Everything is co-created, and it's co-created by the individuals that are we. Okay. So this full moon particularly has a very strong influence. And that influence is from a square to Pluto. So I want you to imagine there's a little bistro dinner table, and the sun in Aries is on one side, and the moon in Libra is on the other side. And those two are having a tete-a-tete. They are having a romantic and fiery dinner together. And then Pluto, planet of truth and power and transformation, pulls up a chair at the right angle. So the sun and the moon can't really have this conversation about how the individual is in the collective without taking into account what Pluto has to say about truth and power. When we look historically at Pluto transits and even at the moment of Pluto's discovery, what we find is a planet that is relentlessly committed to the truth, right? Even the difficulty in classifying Pluto, is it a planet? Is it not a planet? Is it a minor planet? What is it? Points to this. Sort of says, oh, humans, there is so much power and it doesn't all belong to you. And at the same time, there is so much power and it is available to you for better and for worse. So Pluto does point to use of power and misuse of power. We're meant to ask ourselves, again, relentlessly, what is the truth of this situation? And how does power influence not only the situation, but also our perspective on it? Yeah? So if Aries sun and Libra moon are having a conversation about co-creativity and about relationships, Pluto pulling up a chair to the table is asking us to look at the truth of individuals co-creating and also any uses and misuses of power in those relationships. So in my book of the new and full moon rituals for entrepreneurs and change makers, this is the book that I co-created with my astrologer friend, Leslie Tagorda. Leslie noted that this is a moment to look at the places that we have been betrayed or burned in relationship. Not to dwell on them, right? Not to get caught up in the drama of them, but rather to do a Plutonian extraction of power, of wisdom, of lessons learned, of warnings, of new ways of being in relationship. I love this idea. And so that is one of the questions for this full moon. To think of a few relationships in which you were betrayed or burned or even disappointed. What valuable lessons did those relationships teach you about balanced co-creation? Right? Why did that get off kilter? Why did the balance get so wrong from your perspective? This is also a moment to look at the various co-creative relationships you have happening right now. So Libra very often is looking at a partnership of some kind. That could be a relationship with a client, a relationship with a boss, a relationship with a co-counsel, a relationship with a marital partner or a housemate, right? It's a one-to-one relationship. So looking at those now, are there any places you are feeling inequity or imbalance in that relationship? Maybe you have begun to feel a little resentful and underappreciated, for example. The Aries sun says, okay, how can you initiate change? How can you summon your individual power to initiate change, to rebalance this relationship? And Pluto in this moment is saying, hell yeah, that is necessary. That needs to happen now. This may very directly involve money. Is there a place that you are underpaid for what you contribute? Undercompensated for what you give? Aries sun says, this is the moment. This is the moment to make a change for yourself in that regard. Now, Libra moon is supportive of this because the moon, which represents our bodies, our physical bodies, and also our emotional bodies. I mean, after all, emotions are physical. They're in the body. Libra moon, fully illuminated by the sun and in conversation with Pluto, is showing you the effects of any of that imbalance or inequity on your body, in your heart. Libra moon is asking us to honor what it feels like, what the effects are when we find ourselves in an imbalanced relationship. And Libra, listen, I have a lot of Libra in my own chart, a whole stellium of planets in Libra. Libra has very low tolerance for imbalance. Libra is Venus ruled. It wants justice. It wants harmony. It wants everything working together in honorable flow. So step fully into this moment to evolve whatever partnerships do not feel harmonious and don't honor you as a vital piece of the puzzle. Okay. It's a good moment also to look at which connections and networks are most empowering, are most transformative for you right now. How can you open more fully to those? So yes, it's absolutely a moment to look at what is not working. And it is also totally a moment to appreciate, to give more and more value to that which is working. Working with this coach is really helping me, or this friendship feels so good and mutually supportive, or finally, this partnership has evolved to a place where we can both be free and both be supported. Wherever that is in your life, give it more attention, more fuel, more time, make more space for that in your life. Because again, we're all in here existing at choice, living as individuals, and everything is co-created. So when you are co-creating in a way that honors you and your power and your individuality, and also where you benefit from the contributions of your co-creator, we want more of that, not just for you. We want more of that for the entire collective. We want more of that for the puzzle. All right. One more question for this full moon, and that is, how do you want to show up in your relationships with co-creators? So this question is really asking you to own your power, your own agency. While you do not get to choose everything, you do get to choose how to show up. And for me, this is always about vibe. This is about energy. So I love thinking about what is the energy, the vibe, what are the qualities that I want to contribute in this interaction. Right? So no matter what co-creation I'm going into a conference, I'm going into a meeting, I'm going into a party, I'm going into a conversation, I'm going into sexy time with my partner, whatever it is, what's the vibe I'm conjuring? Being really clear about that. So I love that question. How do you want to show up in your relationships with co-creators? Okay. So since this full moon is on the weekend, I really hope you will do a ritual with it. In the book, New and Full Moon Rituals for Changemakers and Entrepreneurs, Leslie and I have written lots of suggestions for you to create a full moon ritual. And really, especially because this full moon is in cardinal signs, it's in initiatory signs. It's such a wonderful moment to mark as like, okay, I see more fully what's happening for me in relationship. And from here forward, I go on in a new way. So honoring the fire of Aries by taking action, by doing something, maybe doing a little ritual of some kind, and honoring Libra's air energy by expressing, by journaling, maybe by having a conversation, talking it out, but by really giving language and thought to your answers to these questions will be wonderful. Two more aspects in this full moon of note. One is that Mercury is approaching a conjunction with Uranus. And what that really means is that you have a moment where you can really change the way you, quote unquote, do business. It's a moment where Uranus, which is about sudden changes, which is about liberation, and Mercury, which is about the way that you conduct yourself, the way that you do business, the way that you communicate in the world. Those two are getting together, and it's a perfect moment to make a big change in the way that you co-create, a change that frees you. The other thing is that Neptune and Jupiter are still conjoined in Pisces. And this is a delicious, beautiful, expansive, generous, compassionate vibe. It's like a CBD balm on this full moon. So even as the full moon has its intense Pluto arriving at the bistro table, and you could just hear that snap of Mercury coming to Uranus to make a change. It's also got this balm over it of wonder and beauty and the reminder that we are all in this magic together. Okay, last little bit. On the full moon, I always love to incorporate some other random resource, just something to remind us, oh, co-creation is available. And it came to me in an article in the New York Times this morning, an article about Mackenzie Scott, who is an extraordinary philanthropist who helped her once upon a time husband, Jeff Bezos, start Amazon, and who has been giving her wealth to all kinds of organizations in an unconventional way. So you can go read more about her. You will discover some fascinating things, like Toni Morrison was her creative writing mentor, like both in college and beyond. Interesting. So she writes beautifully, Mackenzie Scott, and she wrote this little snippet of a line. She wrote, "Anyone's personal wealth is the product of a collective effort." And in this, she was acknowledging that structural inequality makes it easier for some people to make money, to have wealth, than others. And also, I wanted just that line. Anyone's personal wealth is the product of a collective effort. What a perfect and potent reminder for the full moon in Libra. Collectively and individually and collectively, may we harness our power to create. May we channel it into that which benefits and evolves rather than exploits the collective. You're an important piece of that puzzle. Thank you so much for listening, as always. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mind Witchery. To catch all the magic I'm offering, please subscribe to the show. Or if you want a little bit of weekly witchiness in your inbox, sign up for my Sunday letter at mindwitchery.com. If today's episode made you think of a friend or loved one, your sister, your neighbor, please tell them about it. We need more magic makers in this troubled world. Like all good things, this podcast is co-created by stellar people. Our music is by fabulous DJ, artist, and producer Shammy D. Our gorgeous art is by the sorcerers at New Moon Creative. Mind Witchery is produced in conjunction with Particulate Media, K.O. Myers, executive producer. And I am Natalie Miller. Till next time. Hello. As promised, here is a little bit of info about my new group coaching program called Crucible. You know what a crucible is? A crucible is a container in which transformation occurs. It's a strong container, basically like where you melt down metals so that you can make new things. You can make alloys. And my program is called Crucible because it is designed to give you a space where you can summon the courage, the inspiration, the momentum that you need to finally take action on, to finally manifest that thing that you have been wanting to do. And what is that thing? I don't know. That thing might be a new offer if you are an entrepreneur. That thing might be the idea for the book that's been swirling around in your head. It might be an outline for that book. It might be a whole short story. That thing might be a job description for the assistant that you've been wanting to hire. That thing might be your own podcast. Whatever that thing is that you keep thinking, oh, someday I'd really love to make this happen. Crucible says, let's do it now and let's do it together. So Crucible offers 7 weeks of group coaching. Crucible offers insight into how it is exactly that I take an idea and make it real. Right? Now, this is not about me kind of imposing my method onto you, but it is about sparking your own creativity and insisting on a self-honoring way of creating. Yeah? Crucible is about community with other people who are also making it happen. And I cannot even begin to put into words how valuable that is. How much of a difference it makes to be surrounded by other people who are expanding and growing into what's next. Crucible is in large measure about helping you to claim the time and energy that you need to create what's next. And so we'll use my anti-planner, Time Witchery, to do that. We will use co-working sessions that are hosted by Flow Club. I'm very excited about that part in particular. So Crucible is not assuming that you have the willpower and courage and time and energy to make this thing happen. In fact, Crucible says, oh yeah, let's give you a place to generate that, to generate all that you need in order to manifest what it is that you want next. So you are invited. You can go check out Crucible at timewitchery.com/crucible. We begin on April 10th. We go through April and most of May, and then we get to take off for the summer, having finally taken action on that thing that you've been toying with, flirting with, wondering about, dreaming about for so long. So again, more details at timewitchery.com/crucible. I super hope you will meet me inside.